Hey everybody, watch this review here. Look at the Nightcrawler Storm 2-pack from the Marvel Universe Secret Wars line, which I picked up for the low price of $3.22 from Target. Other figures in the wave include Absorbing Man and Doctor Doom, as well as the Wasp and Thing and Bulldozer. Already reviewed this, and on the back we also get to see what the figures should look like, which shall compare to what they actually do look like. And of course it comes with issue 5. The figures come with no accessories, as you cannot see here, because, it's not there. But it's worth noting that instead of using those little plastic rubber band thingies, they just have the figures kind of in between the plastic blister, which means you can damage them removing it, so I'd advise using scissors or something. I'm not sure if I saw this before this wave, or, but it's kind of weird. By which I mean in places there are cuts in the physical plastic through which they stuck the character's limbs, so if you tried to really pull on it, you might damage the figure. But I cut them out and they're all out of package and no problems to speak of. Although I should mention that neither really seems to stand well, but I don't think that has to do with any damage received. I believe that's just a production issue. Here's a look at Storm. As you can see, the eyes just don't seem like they're really painted on right. Other than that, no problems. Here's a close look at Nightcrawler here. I do not like the shadowing on the forehead, and it just seems really deep and kind of weird. Also, I don't have a little black line here where his little unitard thing would go down, which I don't like. It just looks really funky where you have this black layer here up in the upper torso, then the midsection, it doesn't extend further down, which is just a minor design thing. As you can see from the packaging, it would have this, but either they made a running production change or mine just has a production error. No biggie. Also, you'll notice that the jacket on Storm has some blue highlights at the seams. It is on the actual figure, but you can't really tell because it's a lot lighter. The whole jacket looks kind of bluish on that one. Other than that, what you see is basically what you get. I'll look at the Storm first, I believe. For those of you not familiar with this incarnation of Storm, this was basically the punk rocker look she took during the 80s to better help the youth of the day identify with her. Now, as seeing I grew up without a mohawk, and nobody I knew personally had a mohawk, I don't really feel this, but, I did want to assemble a more 80s-ish X-Men team on the 3 3/4 scale, so this definitely does fit in. As mentioned, we have these little blue highlights on the jacket. The jacket's probably not removable unless you remove the arms, which I believe you probably could do because the head pops off rather easily in Nightcrawler. But, I'd rather leave the jacket on anyway because it's a nice display, and for some reason, the bust line doesn't really line up with the rest of the body all that well. I mean, it looks funny without the jacket, so jacket stays. As far as Marvel Universe female sculpts go, Storm definitely lucked out. I saw the Jean Grey, which, was also recently released, or, within a few months before this. And it doesn't really have a neck, but Storm has a neck here, has a decent body sculpt, and I can't really complain, so I won't. In terms of articulation, we have a rotating wrist here. We just have a single joint here at the elbow. Shoulder with a usual range of motion. It's an okay looking shoulder too, just because I always complain about the Marvel Legends ones where we used to have this really big bulky ball joint, and the shoulder didn't look at all feminine, unless of course, Amazonian feminine, but I mean more feminine as in, but this looks perfectly fine. The head does rotate a full 360, goes down a little, up a little, not much. We have a torso joint, but also a waist joint, as you can see here. I mean, the torso joint doesn't really go much to the side, so it's really more of a ab/diaphragm joint. Then we have a ball-jointed leg. She can sit pretty well. Double joint here at the knee, and then the usual foot that rotates a full 360 in addition to going up and down. On the whole, I'm pretty impressed by the Storm, but I'm just a little annoyed that the paint is a little bit off in the eyes, but I could always correct that if it bugged me all that much. I can't really tell if... yeah, I guess that's the... sure, because I mean, with the shadowing and everything, it's hard to see the paint job on the inner torso, but everything looks fine there. Definitely a good effort, and, you know, will work out nicely in my displays. The bigger draw in this pack, for me at least, is Nightcrawler. He was one of my favorite X-Men growing up, mostly because he had this crazy looking appearance, and then he had the ability to teleport, which honestly is one of the coolest powers ever, even though it's a passive ability, meaning you can't really hurt people with it. Not passive in the sense that it's like always active. Only problem is, if you know the Marvel Legend figure, he's got a ton of articulation. He's got like 3 different waist sections. This one doesn't, so... I mean, you really can't compare these Marvel Universe figures to the Marvel Legends ones, but you just hope for a little bit more when you come to a super agile character like Nightcrawler. He does, however, have a bendy tail, but it doesn't bend all that well. Like, it doesn't really stay in place, it'll just go right back up to how it was in the box. I guess because it doesn't seem to like really be a pipe cleaner tail, it seems to be more of just a normal plastic. Again, a little disappointing, but what can you do? At least we are getting a Nightcrawler figure, which, you know, was a pretty big thing for me. Articulation-wise, we have a rotating wrist, single joint elbow. He has a bicep joint, and then the usual arm joint. In addition to a head which pops off pretty easily. It will not go up or down at all, which is kind of annoying considering the fact that you can pose him like sort of acrobatic poses, like where he's leaping to something, but he can't look at where he's leaping. He's looking down at where he'd be falling if he missed. Not a huge issue, but nah. His leg is not that great in terms, because, you know, the design here doesn't allow it to go up all that far, so he can't sit all that well, but, you know, he's more of an acrobatic character anyway. Double joint here at the knee, and then we have a rotating, and then the foot also goes like that, but not so far back because we have sculpt there. And as mentioned, he has a pretty wide range on his torso, which is pretty nice. A lot wider than you would have on a lot of the other Marvel Universe ones, but you have a visible joint when you're doing this. I don't like that paint, as I already mentioned, though, just because it's such a deep highlight, but even if you look at the packaging, this is what they were always going to give us, so, you know, it's not a production error as I might have originally thought. In terms of scale and height, Nightcrawler stands at about 10.5 centimeters, whereas Storm stands at 10 centimeters, but you have to remember that part of that is just due to Storm's haircut. This means Nightcrawler is uncharacteristically tall and a little out of scale, especially because he's standing at roughly the same height as the gigantic Avengers villain Ultron. Well, not really gigantic, but, you know, Ultron's over 6.5 feet, most incarnations, and Nightcrawler shouldn't be anywhere near that mark, so it doesn't fit. Also, most of the weight or the height is in the upper torso here, so you can't even have him duck down to disguise that fact. I'm not sure why they decided to make Nightcrawler so tall, but he does look a little bit off, and even crouched down, he's about Storm's height. Other than that problem, though, and just the fact that I wish they'd done a little bit more with Nightcrawler in terms of articulation, this is a pretty good, cool pack. I mean, it's definitely solid. I wouldn't say it's like the best pack out of the wave or even the series, because honestly, I think Dr. Doom takes the prize for both that stuff. Nonetheless, Hasbro did a pretty good job here, and they deserve a little credit. And although I'm not as impressed with the packs I thought I would be, I definitely feel that these are pretty good figures. You know, really worth adding to your collection. At some point, though, we'll probably get a different Storm with the more conventional look. I think it might even be in one of the upcoming waves, and Nightcrawler, I'm not sure if we'll ever get another one, so it might be a good time to pick up Nightcrawler. By the way, one hand looks like it can hold something, the other hand doesn't. And then Storm has a closed fist and an open hand, neither of which can hold anything. Until next time, folks.